How are you doing?
Cool.
Have you been able to get out and enjoy some of the weather?
Cool today, yeah.
A little bit, yeah.
So it's something that, the best way to describe it is it explains what we see. That's the name that we gave it. Yeah, just things that maybe your animations like smearing.
Yeah, I'm sure that's good. Hey, so that was too bad, but that was the last. That was the last day.
So are you a weightlifter?
No, I used to be. I don't. I haven't lifted in a long time, but I firmly believe that's the path forward. You have to train before you leave to prepare for the journey. It's something that's required. You got to do it, and the only way to prepare is by creating an environment,
Replicating the environment. Or approximating or something, yeah.
Yes, that before you leave, before you take off, before you get the spaceship, you have to train or bring the tool with you. So whatever you use to create greater density, my plan, and maybe somebody else could do it better, is to use magnets. Magnets in a very small area that can replicate or pull a greater amount of force in the same area.
Not just weight, but it would be, you'd be working against the magnetic force, is
Yes,
what you're saying.
yes. I've talked to a couple of guys. They have ideas that are complicated and outside of my imagination to place in my head. But essentially, from a weightlifter's education, it would be you aren't spreading the weight out anymore. So the weight, instead of how they add weight and it keeps going out further and further and further.
Right.
Instead of doing that, all of the weight is in the same area. So the pressure in that area increases, and it stops the body from growing because there's no reason to be stable and stabilize a larger area. The motive now is to stabilize the same area because the force is greater in that area. And if that happens, you should build muscle density.
Build muscle, right.
And that should last longer as you travel through space.
Well, as she said, the people at NASA, the ones working with the astronauts, are probably the ones who need that, who need to think about something like that.
Yeah, it's incredible, but I think it has ramifications for regular people. Like if you have more muscle bone density, you live longer. You not only compress your muscles, you don't just compress your bones, you compress your the small things.
Could be part of your general health.
Yes, a health and bonus, long life. You slow down the aging process. In my opinion, I think you're going to end up slowing down the aging process.
Maybe the deterioration of
your muscle, your bones, and I think it goes deeper. I think the pressure will cause deeper changes, like your cellular changes. I know there's a thing that causes aging. I think it's called senescence. Do you know about it?
Yes. I think I've heard of senescence. Is the word I've heard of it. Is the way I've heard it.
I think you can pressurize senescence, and you can't stop it, but I think you can slow it down with greater pressure. And I think that's what she was mentioning. She was mentioning that gravity can slow time up, speed time up, and slow time down. And I think that idea can apply to humans. She was talking about astronomy and stars, but gravity is gravity, and it works, and it should apply to the nature of gravity should apply to humans or stars.
Everything including us, right?
Everything including us.
Yeah.
So that's my opinion. I think this is an incredible moment that where people live longer and go further.
I have to talk to Jim.
Okay. All
Excuse
right.
me.
Okay.
Hey, Jim, can I bring the orrery in? What? Can I bring that orrery in?
Oh, you brought the orrery. Yeah, I'll put it in the back room.
Okay, I can bring it back there if you want me to. I just
Well, why don't you at least bring it up here so I see it, because I didn't even notice it back there. Hi,
Hello.
I'm Jim.
Nice to meet you, Jim. I was just going to double check her answer and make sure I said it right.
Well, hi, she's free now.
Hi.
Hi. Now, just a couple of the things you said made me think of stuff that at least used to be done here at UW. They used to do bone density. There was a lab that was dedicated to measuring bone density, which I guess is not all that straightforward, or at least it wasn't in those days. So there are people around here who do stuff related to the kind of things you're talking about. Who would actually know what. Rachel and I don't know anything about that kind of stuff, but by all means, there she is.
Hey, so I think in your answer you mentioned that adding more mass to the bar wouldn't really.
So I don't know much about that kind of stuff at all. I don't weightlift or anything, so I don't think that maybe I know enough to answer your questions. But there are people who do work with this, like at NASA and stuff, and it would be worth looking that up.
Yeah, I've asked the engineering department question. I know it's like they have a public forum where
I
they.
don't know that. But yeah.
There's a website on UW. You just, like, ask them a question, submit a question, or things of that nature. Well, something like that. And then, but I guess at the end of the day, astronomy is an interesting topic. And when I was a kid, I used to think about venturing through space, and I always had fears or doubts about humanity's chances because everyone's saying it's very challenging to make that journey. And when I started weightlifting, I realized there was something wrong. I kept getting bigger.
Yeah.
And I knew that's a problem because I want my speed too.
Yeah.
I don't want to just be big. I want to be fast.
Yeah.
And then I started thinking, how can you have both? So you would need gravity. You would need some fashion of gravity.
So it seems like you have to basically be able to weightlift like in a fugue, like something where it's, changing the amount of acceleration you experience.
Centrifuges at least. But what if you just applied greater force in the same area?
So you can't change the amount of force that we're experiencing and the acceleration that we're experiencing very easily.
Oh, no, you don't have to be in motion. You could...
Yeah, but I have to go eat. I actually haven't had dinner.
Oh, okay.
So I'm like gonna probably pass out if I don't kind of get home and eat. But it's really interesting.
Okay.
I just honestly need to go eat dinner.
Okay,
like
cool.
You're talking about. You understand? You weightlift.
Yes, yeah. No, I don't anymore. I used to. I stopped like 5 or 6 years ago. I haven't weightlifted since then.
Yeah.
But I think it's.
It's really interesting.
Yeah, I think it's a path forward. I'm almost positive.
Yeah.
Yep.
I hope you enjoyed the talk.
Yep.
Just click with the new business while I'm out there.
Holy crap. So, thank you so much for your time.
Oh,
That was very nice of you.
I enjoyed it. It makes me think.
Are you a thinker? Are you do you use your free time for like contemplating, thinking about space or traveling through?
Yeah, once in a while.
Once in a while.
Yeah, sounds like you do.
I do almost every day. I have a whole like 6,000 tweets about space, traveling through space, and other things. But I do, and YouTube. I have a YouTube channel as well. I do try my best to tell as many people as I can about traveling through space, and that it is important to fix the gravity problem before we leave. I try my best to explain that to as many people as possible. You cannot go to Mars. You cannot colonize Mars without solving the gravity problem.
I understand that.
And I think the tool or the intelligence or the engineering is possible here on Earth today.
Well, her suggestion, I wonder whether there's any way you can contact NASA.
Oh, yeah, that's a stretch. I'm just a small guy here. I'm just a little guy.
Hey, NASA.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know what how you feel.
Yeah. So I don't mean to like bother people, or that's why I avoid talking about it. I usually just post it online because I know it's like one of those tough questions.
No, I know it. I have a project of my own. It involves. You have to listen for about a minute here.
Okay.
You know, people go to libraries to say, take this book off the shelves.
Yes.
That's called book banning.
I've heard of this. I know
Okay.
this.
So I want to organize a group
Yep.
Bye.
Oh, bye.
to show up at a meeting
Yep.
to speak against book banning. I mean, this is my project.
Yes.
But I know how impossible it is to get
Yeah.
the word out. Or
Yeah.
who am I'm going to call NASA. I'm going to call
Which libraries are you? Well, the public.
all the libraries in the state.
Okay.
I mean, so I'm just saying, I know how difficult it is to
Yeah.
spread an idea.
I agree. I think. Oh, well, no, you can't. I agree. You cannot ban books. It's a freedom of speech. You should be able to speak freely. You can. I mean, you shouldn't. It's impossible.
Well, and the books they're trying to ban are ones about gay people,
Yeah.
black history,
Yeah.
diversity
it-
in general.
What's the argument for?
Well,
To ban them.
MAGA says, you know, this is a white country.
Yeah.
We don't want to admit that we ever treated blacks badly. Take that out of history. That's a long.
Yeah.
That's a long suit.
Oh, I think I've heard. Okay, so I've heard some topics about banning books about the gay with
Anything
and
about
black and all
people.
that.
I've got two mothers. That's
Yeah.
the title of a book. They don't want that in libraries.
I'm
so-
against it. I tell you flat out, you got to have those books. But I think they're trying. They can be in public libraries. They have a right to be there because it's a freedom of speech for someone to write those things, and put them in a book, and for them to be accessible in a public library.
Right.
I don't think. I think so. If someone's doing that, you should have a good fight to stop
Well,
them.
I think so too.
Yeah.
But I'm sympathizing with
Yeah.
you about, besides your tweets,
Yeah.
how do you get somebody
To
to
know. Yeah.
take up the idea, maybe
Yeah.
fund you, or
Yeah.
I just
Yeah, and I'm trying to avoid
having a good
yeah.
idea. It doesn't automatically,
And I guess
translate into anything.
yeah. So you have all this energy, and without any gravity, without turning it into something of value, it's kind of useless. So that's
Good luck.
Yes, that's what I'm learning. All right, thank you. So holy crap! I just met Rachel McClure. Holy crap! And she denied my idea. Oh crap, Rachel McClure. I don't believe mass on a weightlifting bar would change reality. Holy shit. That will change the reality of traveling through space for any human beings. So I firmly believe that you and Rachel might be gay. Oh. So, listen, without a doubt, if you can create greater force in the same area on a weightlifting bar using whatever means possible, if you do that, and these weights are free moving, common sense would tell you they have to be free moving. I shouldn't have to explain that. To start over, if you add more weight in the same area on the weightlifting bar, that pressure would be greater on the weightlifter. So wherever the weightlifter is, that pressure will be greater on his shoulders, on his arms, on his legs, on his back. Wherever he's exercising, or whatever muscle groups he's exercising, the pressure would be greater. And it keeps getting greater in the same area. So the pressure in the same area causes the weightlifter to build greater density in that area. So your muscles, your bones have to be denser in order to support greater pressure in the same area. So there's nobody on the planet, there's no professor in the world who can't understand that.